Welcome to The End of the World, the episode where Doctor Who says, okay, you survived living plastic and a horny mom. Now here's space, grief, classic satire, Britney Spears, Lady Groot, and a sheet of skin with a face. If the episode Rose introduced the Doctor, then this episode introduces the show. Let's get into The End of the World. Subscribe, or Cassandra will moisturize herself with your ad revenue. Previously on Doctor Who, Rose made the decision to go with the Doctor by running into the TARDIS, and she immediately asks where they can go, instead of, taking a look around to make sure he isn't going to traffic her. That's the behavior of a girl with daddy issues. Since they can go anywhere, Rose wants to go to the future. So the Doctor takes her 100 years into the future. She's impressed, I think. She never goes outside to see what it looks like. She just acts all flirty about it. So he takes her 10,000 years into the future. She's even more impressed, but again, maybe step outside and look around to make sure the goofy middle-aged man in a leather jacket isn't lying. The Doctor is in full look how impressive I am mode, so he takes her 5 billion years into the future, because when the 9th Doctor wants to impress girls, he takes them to mass extinction events. They step out onto Platform 1, a space station orbiting the Earth, and see that the sun has expanded into a giant red ball of death and the Earth is about to burn. See what I mean? Anyway, the Doctor is having the time of his life. He shows off the psychic paper to the steward, which I really think is a genius invention for the show, and I wish they would use it a little bit more these days. The station starts receiving guests for the final viewing of Earth, because, in the future, the 1% still find a way to make climate change an exclusive party. We meet the Mox of Balhoun, who is basically a blue space blob in a chair. We also meet the adherents of the repeated meme, that are blank, black robes so you can put whatever meme you want on them, repeatedly. So, human TikToks. We also meet Jabe from the Forest Cheem, a female Groot with a better vocabulary. The Doctor gives all these f***ers the breath from his lungs, which, hopefully he had an Altoid or something prior to getting off the TARDIS. And then we meet the Lady Cassandra O'Brien, who is the last human. And when I say human, I mean she's a sheet of skin stretched across a metal frame with eyes and a mouth. She's also got dudes that stand around and spray her with moisturizer so she doesn't dry out. This will be important later. She's had 708 operations, and she's very proud of the fact that she has remained pure while everyone else has evolved and interbred and adapted. So she's basically a racist shower curtain. Anyway, Cassandra brought everyone a jukebox and plays Tainted Love, and then later Toxic, as an example of classical Earth music. Stay out of my playlist, Cassandra. Everyone is partying like it's the apocalypse, because it is, and Rose gets a little overwhelmed. So she goes to a room, meets a blue worker, has a chat, and then f***s off again. Then the blue worker dies by some four-legged spiders in the ducks. Bye, Blue Lady. The Doctor finds Rose, and they fight about her mood. You see, Rose doesn't really know anything about the Doctor. She doesn't really know where he's from, or what species he is, or even if he has a name. He drug her 5 billion years into the future to watch her planet die. And he's kind of being a smug shithead about it. So now he upgrades her phone. Rose phones home, hears her mom's voice, and that seems to work out all of her issues. I'm not saying time-traveling cell service isn't a neato distraction, but Rose, the Doctor still hasn't told you shit about himself, but whatever. Give Rose a cell phone and she's placated. She's just like us. Meanwhile, the station's steward announces that the Earth Death Show is about to begin. Of course, things start going wrong, because those four-legged metal spider robots, which are supposed to be gifts from the adherents of the repeated meme, start crawling around the station and sabotaging everything. The Blue Man Group's steward gets his ass fried. The shields begin deteriorating, the station starts heating up, and the doctor starts investigating. He and Jabe go below decks, and because this flirty tree bitch scanned him earlier, she knows he's a Time Lord. And this is the first time the episode starts fully picking at the scab of the doctor's wound. She knows his people are gone, and she tells him that she's sorry. And Eccleston's face changes. Meanwhile, Rose goes back to Cassandra and tries to learn a little bit more about the last human being. Unfortunately, Rose finds out all that pureblood I said about Cassandra earlier, and their conversation ends exactly the way most discussions about racial purity should, with somebody being called a bitch. Rose storms off, but the adherents of the repeated meme follow her into the hallway, knock her unconscious, and drag her into one of the observation rooms. So you know, that shit's not good. Down below, the doctor and Jabe find one of the little metal spiders and capture it. Rose wakes up locked inside a room where the sun filter is slowly lowering. That don't matter though. The doctor hears her screaming and manages to raise the filter before she gets Kentucky fried. But he can't get the door open, so she's gotta stay there. The doctor takes the spider back to the main room and lets it run loose, hoping it will return to whoever is controlling it. It heads towards the memes, but the doctor points out that they're just remote-controlled robots wearing robes, which I guess means the adherents of the repeated memes are fake accounts being operated by somebody else. So, you know, Twitter. The robots collapse, the spider changes direction, and it rolls right up to Cassandra. Cassandra admits that she sabotaged the station because maintaining her body costs a fortune. Cassandra orders the spiders to shut down the station's shields, then teleports away with her attendants. The force field protecting Platform 1 disappears, the station begins cooking, and giant blasts of sunlight start bursting through the windows. Several of the guests are incinerated. Bye-bye, rich space assholes. Unfortunately, the only way for the doctor to restore the station's shields is to reach a reset switch on the other side of a room filled with enormous spinning fans. Because apparently the people who designed Platform 1 hired the same architect who built Bowser's castles. Jabe stays behind to hold down the switch that slows down the fans. The doctor tells her that the heat will kill her because she's made of wood, but Jabe is brave. Jabe saves the station. Jabe catches fire and burns to death. Bye-bye, tree lady! Now the doctor is trapped between the final two fans, but he closes his eyes, concentrates, and somehow walks straight through them without getting chopped into Time Lord confetti. The doctor reaches the reset switch just in time. The shields come back online, Platform 1 begins repairing itself, and the Earth is finally consumed by the sun. Also, Rose doesn't die. The doctor is pissed and finds the teleportation signal that Cassandra used to escape and reverses it, bringing her back into the station. But the doctor has brought her back without her moisturizers, so her skin begins drying out almost immediately. Cassandra begs for help, and Rose asks the doctor to save her, but the doctor just stands there and says everything has its time and everything dies. Then Cassandra stretches, tears open, and explodes all over the floor. Afterwards, Rose realizes that nobody actually watched the Earth die. She gets kind of bummed about it, so the doctor takes her back to present-day London. And he finally tells her the truth. Rose tells him he still has her, and then she buys him some chips. The end. Wow, that was some whiplash there at the end, no? We had a campy, little weird story about aliens watching an empty Earth get consumed by hellfire, then it turns into a sad story about Time Lords. Well, maybe it wasn't whiplash. Anyway, let's talk about the things that I liked. I really do love what this episode does for Rose. This is where I think Billie Piper really starts making the character work. In the first episode, Rose was just an ordinary girl who gets pulled into the impossible. In this one, she realizes the impossible has weight. She's not just giggling in the TARDIS anymore. She's watching the Earth die. She realizes that her mother is dead 5 billion years in the past. She's surrounded by aliens who treat her planet like a museum exhibit and a dinner show. And Piper plays all of that beautifully. She looks small in the right way. Not weak or stupid, just completely overwhelmed. And that matters because it makes the universe feel big. If Rose just walked into Platform 1 and started quipping like she was born for this I don't think this episode would work. She's uncomfortable with all of it and then gets a little bit scared and lonely. And then she gets angry because the doctor isn't telling her shit. She asks questions, she pushes back, and because she reacts like a human being would, the audience gets permission to feel the same way. I'm not the world's biggest fan of Rose Tyler the way other people are, but I am a fan of her as a companion for the 9th Doctor. She really complements him very well. And yeah, she's gonna get plenty annoying when Tennant rolls around, but this season of Rose with the 9th Doctor is, as he would say, fantastic. I really like the argument between Rose and the Doctor before he fixes her phone. It's the best scene in the episode because of the subtext. Rose is absolutely right to ask who the hell this man is. The Doctor invited her into his impossible time machine, showed her the future, surrounded her with aliens, and then got pissy when she wanted basic biographical information. He wants the intimacy of a companion without the responsibility of explaining himself. And Rose calls him on it, and that's good writing. It also gives us the first real look at how damaged the Doctor actually is. He's not just mysterious because the show wants him to be mysterious. He's mysterious because saying the truth hurts. At this point in his life, he can't even say where he's from without turning into a defensive prick. The phone call with Jackie is also perfect because it grounds the whole thing. Rose is 5 billion years away, but that one phone call brings her right back to the estate. And that is RTD doing what RTD did best during his first run, making cosmic nonsense emotionally domestic. Eccleston. I mean, what can you say? The Doctor's aloofness really works in this episode because it's not just arrogance, it's armor. He's showing off because he does not want to grieve. He's smiling too much because he knows if he stops smiling, someone might ask him what happened. His whole attitude is basically, look at this amazing thing, Rose. Don't look at me. Don't ask about me. Don't notice the giant smoking crater where my entire civilization used to be. And boy, Christopher Eccleston plays that perfectly. He's charming, rude, funny, evasive, wounded, and just a little bit dangerous all at once. When Jabe scans him and confronts him on who he is, his face drops just enough to tell us the whole story. Then at the end, when he finally tells Rose about Gallifrey, he's not giving a lore exposition dump. He's confessing grief. And I think that's why the Time War stuff worked so well early on. They didn't start it out with a Wikipedia page. They started out with a man who could barely say it out loud. And there's also that very important moment where he brings Cassandra back to the station. Even when Rose asks him to help her, he doesn't do it. And he doesn't just allow Cassandra to die, he makes it happen. He knows exactly what bringing her back without her attendance will do, and then he refuses to help her even when Rose begs him to. It's some amazing foreshadowing for what's to come. Rose is clearly disturbed by it, and she should be. This is not the fun, goofy adventurer who upgraded her phone 10 minutes ago. This is a man who survived a war, lost everything he ever knew, and apparently came out of it with a very flexible position on mercy. I do like Cassandra. I don't think she's a very deep villain, but she is memorable as hell. She's vain, racist, rich, cruel, and made of skin. That's a pretty solid villain resume if you ask me. She's also a very RTD villain because she's not just evil, she's satire stretched across some poles. She's obsessed with purity while being the most unnatural thing in the room. She calls herself the last human while looking like Buffalo Bill's wet dream.
It places the lotion in the basket.
And the insurance fraud plot is funny because, of course, the last pure human is still a rich asshole trying to profit from mass death. She's camp, but she works. Things I didn't like. I did not enjoy the Britney Spears bit. I understand why people like it. I understand the joke. Toxic being an ancient classical music is funny on paper, and definitely RTD. But the joke feels like the episode is just stopping right in the middle, looking directly at the audience and saying, "Hey, remember 2005? This is 2005. We have jokes from 2005. Put on your low-rise jeans and fear the Black Eyed Peas." It feels like the show elbowing me in the ribs and saying, "Get it? Pop music from now is old in the future." Yeah, I get it. Time passed. Thank you. Also, the fact that the jukebox is called an iPod just makes my bones turn to dust. Again, I don't hate it. It's just one of those RTD jokes where I can feel him grinning behind the keyboard, and I want him to stop looking at me. Jabe from the Forest Cheem doesn't work for me. I guess she's fine as a plot device. She gets the doctor to reveal his pain without having to explain everything directly to the camera. And she gives him someone to connect with on Platform 1, even if the flirting part made my stomach turn a little. And she helps save the day. But as an emotional character, I don't really care. The episode clearly wants her sacrifice to matter, and in theory it should. But when she burst into flames, I sort of just laughed. I mean, she feels like a character who was created to die nobly after delivering emotional exposition. Sorry, Tree Lady, you just didn't have the roots. The ending is a video game again. I know I said it with Rose, but I mean, come on. We are 2 episodes into New Who, and already the finale is basically cross the hazard room and press the glowing button. The Doctor has to time his way through giant spinning fan blades while the temperature rises and the station is about to explode. And that's not bad exactly, but it does feel mechanical. Luckily, the emotional ending with Rose and the Doctor is much better than the action climax. Once again, the character work is doing the heavy lifting, while the plot is kind of standing in the corner holding a controller. The murder mystery plot wasn't very interesting either. The spiders are fine, I guess. The sabotage is fine for Doctor Who. The Cassandra reveal is fine, if not expected. But I don't think anyone is watching this episode for the plot mechanics anyway. It's not exactly the Robots of Death, which, subtle plug, we'll be reviewing next time. There's just not a great sense of deduction or escalating mystery. Stuff goes wrong, people get killed, the Doctor figures it out, Cassandra confesses, and then we move on to the fan blade level. But honestly, it is a bit refreshing to see a Doctor Who villain whose evil plan is just insurance fraud and insider trading. Things I didn't understand.
What?
I don't understand why the Doctor thought this was a good first trip. I know he's an alien, and I know he's emotionally damaged, and I know his social skills are somewhere between haunted war veteran and guy who explains NFTs at a party. But still, Rose just got into the TARDIS, man. Maybe start with Space Applebee's? Maybe take her to see some nice moons? Maybe don't immediately just bring her to the literal funeral of her own fucking species? This man said anywhere in the universe and then picked your entire civilization is dead and rich aliens brought snacks. I mean, Jesus, dude. I don't understand Cassandra's healthcare plan. This woman has had 708 operations and is now just skin, eyes, and hate. At some point, surely a doctor should have said, "Lady Cassandra, respectfully, you are no longer a person. You're just an extra large Chipotle tortilla." And how is she alive? I see the blood pumping, but where are the organs? Where's the brain? Is the brain in the frame? I'm not saying Doctor Who needs hard science, but I am saying I have follow-up questions about the racist yoga mat.
Nitpick Corner!
The sun filters on Platform 1 are a nightmare design. Why does the observation room have a setting where the windows just slowly open and burn everyone alive? Why is that even possible? Who designed Platform 1? OceanGate? There should not be a turn room into an air fryer feature unless there are 12 warning screens and not one button on a keyboard. And Blue Boy reacts so fucking slow when it happens, like he doesn't know he's about to have his skin turn from blue to black in 3 more minutes. Jesus! So do I love this one? Not really. I like it. I respect it for what it's doing. I think Billie Piper is fantastic in it. I think the Doctor's aloofness is doing a lot of the character work. I think the argument between Rose and the Doctor right before he fixes her phone is a great scene, and that RTD didn't understand why that scene worked when he added the same one in Space Babies. But I also think the story is kinda thin. The ending turns into another video game level. Jabe the Tree Lady mostly exists to tell us the Doctor is sad, and the classical music joke makes me want to throw a Bluetooth speaker into the sun. I give The End of the World a 6. As a second episode, it is smart. It expands the universe, gives Rose her first real emotional shock, shows the audience what the Doctor can be, and starts peeling back the Doctor's trauma. But it's also not one I revisit because I'm dying to watch Cassandra commit space insurance fraud while the Doctor plays Frogger with industrial fans. And next time, we're going to jump back into the classics with another Tom Baker and Leela story because, f*** you, it makes me happy. And because Grant Waller and Tecumseh Cristero requested it, and I still take requests for classic stories. If you have one, throw it in the comments and I'll be getting to it at some point. After that, we'll come back to this season and rediscover the Unquiet Dead. And there's going to be some back and forth for a while, because there's a lot of Doctor Who to cover, and one day I'll die before covering them all. And as always, you lot, you spend all your time thinking about dying like you're going to get killed by eggs or beef or global warming or salty ham, but you never take time to imagine the impossible, that you may survive. Tired of roaming charges? Sick of losing a signal just because you traveled slightly outside your coverage area? Or 5 billion years into the future with a man who may or may not sell your body to aliens? Then switch to Time Lord Mobile, the only wireless network powered by jiggery pokery, impossible technology, and with absolutely no visible infrastructure whatsoever. With the new Bad Wolf Unlimited plan, you can call anyone, anywhere, at any point in human history. Call your mom from the end of the world. Call yourself from yesterday. Call ancient Rome and warn them about the whole empire collapsing thing. And with our exclusive Tyler Disconnect feature, every emotional conversation can end without warning, closure, or even a basic goodbye. Other networks brag about their maps. Time Lord Mobile covers all of space and time, bitch. Beat that. Time Lord Mobile is not responsible for paradoxes, temporal feedback, calls from deceased relatives, alternative versions of yourself, reapers, Cybermen intercepting your voicemail, or your mom hanging up on you because apparently she finished speaking. Time Lord Mobile. All of time and space. Bitch.